podcast where two bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time. My name is Luke Condo with Kate, and I'm joined by my regular co-host, Mr.
Ben Errington.
with a BE, and a semi-regular co-host who has joined us with the beard today, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Tony Stark.
Sadly, I'm poor.
Yeah. Oh, endgame spoilers. Whoops.
Yeah, so what's going on?
Yeah. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, all good. Always a pleasure for speaking to you two guys.
Oh, what a kind soul. What a lovely lie to tell.
It's the beard.
It's definitely the beard. What's new? What has everybody been up to?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I've been watching lots of films.
That's good. What, just hiding from the sunshine and watching films?
I've just been in the mood to watch some films. You know, you sometimes want to watch the TV show, sometimes you want to read a book. I just wanted to watch a load of films.
What is your average time for putting on a film in an evening?
Well, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's the usual time. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's the usual time I spend watching a film.
What time though? Would you say like 8 o'clock? 9 o'clock?
What time's too late to start?
Okay. Well, 9 o'clock is pushing it. But I will say, so surprisingly, if you get up quite early on a Sunday morning, make a cup of coffee, and watch like a horror movie first thing in the morning, it's really good. It's like it just seems to, I don't know, like the world asleep, so you're just on your own, you've got your time to yourself, you're kind of waking up, so you're still feeling a little bit in that dreamland.
If you get scared, you can just look out and it's daylight, and there's nothing to fear from daylight, apart from in this film today.
Exactly. Or it's a weekend one, you can flip to the cartoons or something. Oh, sorry.
Oh yes. I
Yeah.
did used to do that when I was scared. When I was like having nightmares and stuff when I was younger, I used to either try and watch cartoons or like play Sonic the Hedgehog. I feel like playing Sonic the Hedgehog just got rid of all my nightmares, so I was fine after that.
Resets you, yeah.
It resets you, yeah, exactly. See, I'd say 9 o'clock is my like average time for putting on a film. That's like the golden time, because then by the time the film's ended, I can quite easily go to bed then, depending on what the film is, obviously. But any later than that, and I feel like I'm just in crazy territory. And I do it quite a lot. Sometimes I find myself putting a film on at 11 o'clock, and that's madness.
I did that for Monkey Shines a few weeks back. I was like, oh shit, I haven't watched it yet. Right, put it on then, 11 o'clock.
And then I get locked in where I'm like, I've got to finish watching it. Even though I can feel my eyes like really heavy, I'm like, I've got to finish watching it.
I can't, if my eyes are starting to go, I'll turn the film off, because I feel like I'm not giving it proper attention.
You're there with one eye open going,
Yeah.
And you always kid yourself, I'll just close one eye,
Yeah.
and this one will get a rest.
Slap yourself.
I've been known to stand, if I really need to finish a film, or right, I'm so close to the end that if I stop now, I'm not going to finish this. I've been known to stand up for the end. Just stand up in the living room.
What time of day did you watch Midsommar?
It was about 4 o'clock. No, 6 o'clock. But it was like, it's really light at the minute. So it
Yeah, I
felt
went
like...
for 4.
Yeah.
Mate, you mind that? Yeah, I think mine was about 7:30. 7:30 went right before. You go in when it was bright and sunny, and come out in the deep, gloomy darkness.
Well, the sun goes down about like 10 o'clock at the minute for us here.
Yeah, it's freaky, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is
so-
freaky.
Yeah.
Is perpetual daylight something that terrifies you?
No, not really. Does it terrify you?
It's a bit scary, isn't it? I've always been a bit freaked out. You know, when you go like, oh, there's some festival in Iceland, music festival, and the sun doesn't really ever go down. I feel like I'd be freaked out. I wouldn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Do you ever sleep in the day? Do you ever have like a midday nap?
Yeah.
Okay. You'll be fine then. Just
I'll be
have
fine.
plenty of naps.
Yeah.
Would you rather have perpetual daylight for 30 days or 30 days of night? You don't have to have vampires involved.
Daylight, 100%.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've got so many questions today. I feel so curious. I'm just like, hey guys, what do you do with this and this and this? And how'd you have your tea?
No sugar, bit of milk.
Same.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got a cup of tea with me now.
As have I.
Made to order.
Made with those exact specifications.
Exactly, me too. That's the way. There's nothing else because obviously nobody drinks black tea apart from
when your life's gone really wrong, and you're like, oh, I've got no milk, but I really need a tea. I'm gonna have to sit and drink this.
I can do black coffee, but black tea is there's something wrong. There's something wrong about that.
Something wrong with you.
Yeah. You got some news, some horror related news, Ben?
I've got some news for us to discuss. I've got 3 headlines here that I thought maybe we could all chip in with our 2 cents. Has anybody heard about a reboot of Saul?
Yes.
I have. Who is in it again? Is it more comedians?
So, starring Chris Rock, allegedly. Or let's say allegedly, I think he's been confirmed. But now, apparently, Samuel L. Jackson has been attached to the reboot.
And it's Darren Lynn Bousman who's making it, who made the first one. No, not the first one, the second 2 or something like that. And he made Repo, the Genetic Opera. Did you ever watch that?
Okay. No, I haven't. I've heard of it.
It's a lot of fun, yeah.
Is it too soon for a reboot, or do we feel like this franchise needs it?
That last one was so annoying.
I didn't watch that.
It grated against me. I feel like they obviously doing something different. I think getting Darren Lynn Bousman back in is a good choice. So I'm up for it. I think it's.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. Like Saw for me kind of lost its momentum a few in, because at first it was, it actually felt like it had a lesson, and it was like, yeah, you cheat on your benefits or you take loads of drugs, so I'm going to get you and teach you a lesson. By about 3 or 4, it was like, hello, detective, whatever. You think you should do a really good job as a policeman and you worked really hard. I'm going to teach you a lesson about that. They're admirable qualities. Like,
remember that time when you put the cardboard in the plastic bin? You put the plastic in the cardboard bin. I'm going to teach you a lesson. Oh, I don't even remember doing that. Exactly.
It's a well-known formula that it's either you've done something bad and now you'll have to do it to survive, or you've done something bad and now it will be done to you. It's like, for us, it'd be like, you like talking about movies on a podcast. Now you'll have to talk for your life.
Talk for your life.
This reminds me of that Simpsons episode, The Treehouse of Horror, where because he eats donuts all the time, they force him to eat all the donuts, and he still wants more at the end.
He loves it. Yeah.
He loves it, exactly. So I kind of checked out the franchise. I think I've only ever seen the first 3, and after the 3rd one, I was a bit like, I'm kind of done. I didn't watch Jigsaw because I heard bad things, so it seems like a bit. I think they need to change up the formula, because the formula was incredibly stale, was it not? Like a unique thing, and it kind of, when you say Saw, you kind of know what the beats are, but they need to change it up surely, because we can't, even with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, if it's more of the same shit.
No, I feel like the fact that they've cast those people, it makes me think they've got some idea that's very fresh, that's going to be quite different. Yeah, so I don't know what it'll be, but yeah, I want to see some like out of left field, new Saw.
Is Tobin Bell still about? How many contingencies has Jigsaw got at this point?
Yeah. He's literally got a contingency for every possible...
Probably could have cured his terminal illness if he'd gone to hospital more and spent less time building traps and sending cryptic like tape recordings and so on into the future.
Second piece of news. So apparently Sam Raimi has teased the return of the Evil Dead franchise, said that they're working on ideas right now, as in this second.
Right, okay, yeah. Well,
and I believe
if he's listening, sorry, I jumped ahead of you. What were you saying?
I said something that you're never going to know now.
Oh no, that's the worst.
I fucked it up.
I hate it.
I think all I said was I think it's going to be films, right? They want to do more films. It's not like a TV show or anything.
Yeah.
It's not like Evil Dead directed by Sam Raimi now.
So, what, more Bruce Campbell? I thought Bruce Campbell had retired as Ash.
I think if anyone's going to be able to bring him back, it's going to be Sam Raimi, right?
Yeah. Why don't you get Fede Alvarez to do a sequel to the remake thing? That was good. I liked that.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Let's do a crossover where the sequel to the remake, but Bruce Campbell's in it.
They could kind of blend the what was the Drag Me to Hell demon with the Evil Dead lore a bit, because I know there is an Easter egg of Drag Me to Hell in Evil Dead, so maybe they could bridge that in some way.
Potentially, yeah. And it is all about the returning franchises in horror news today, because apparently there's a rumor that Halloween, David Gordon Green is going to return to direct back-to-back sequels. And I also read that those back-to-back sequels are going to be released in the same year or within the same 12 months.
So like Halloween 3 and 4?
Well, it will be Halloween 2 and 3, won't it?
Oh, well, that's confusing, because isn't it Halloween 2?
Essentially, right.
Oh my god, that's a minefield.
I mean,
there's no right way to do that.
It's a minefield. So apparently it completely usurps all, I mean, that word right? It completely gets rid of everything from 3 onwards, right? In the main line.
Yeah.
So essentially it is Halloween 3 in that, but they'll probably mark it as Halloween 2, won't they, surely?
I think that's weird, because
Halloween 2019 is Halloween as a follow-up from 19, like the original.
Yeah.
So I would love it. I'll fully accept this if they do a sequel to the one we saw last Halloween, and then the sequel to that is just a remake of Season of the Witch again with those masks.
Yeah. Well, if it comes out in 2020, Halloween 2020, Halloween H2020.
2020 vision. I think
With an owl.
Just call them all Halloween. Just say it's another Halloween, and people will go. You don't need to know the sequel now.
Have you seen the Halloween movie? Yes. Which one? Yes.
Well, they should do like Fast and Furious do. You've got Fast and Furious, Furious 5, Fast and the 7, whatever sort of names they sort of put them together.
Ever so subtly change where you're going to put a colon or the number.
Hobbs and Shaw, they've changed that too now. It's a different thing altogether. Call it the return of Michael Myers, Michael the Halloween Man, Trick or Treat, Halloween edition,
Tokyo Drift,
Halloween Tokyo Drift,
Tokyo Drift. Let's call it that. Let's just call it that. Yeah. So that's it. That's the horror news.
Okay.
Logistics aside, I'm looking forward. I'd watch more of those Halloween movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just call it Halloween something Michael Myers, or Halloween he's back again. Bloody hell.
Guess who's back? Yeah.
Or just everything we just said, that's the entire subtitle, therefore immediately giving it the record as the longest title ever.
Yeah. And everyone will still refer to it as Halloween, so...
Yeah.
But they can't win. They bloody can't win.
So, other news then. We've got some stuffs and guffs that we want to talk about. You seen anything?
Well, I'll try and do one for all of us. Has everybody seen some of or all of Stranger Things yet?
I've watched the first one. One episode in. Karen's on nights, so limited time.
When you said Karen's on nights, then I thought episode 1 is called Karen's on nights. It's great. You never guess what happens. So I've seen 6 so far. I have 8. I had a little bit of a binge. I don't really do binge, but it's going to be. I think it's the best series so far, because I think series 1 was obviously unique. Yeah, it was kind of finding its feet. Season 2 kind of tried to be a bit more. It tried to make the world bigger and bring in more characters and make the sort of the lore sort of link into various different things outside of Hawkins. And I think what they did is realize that certain things didn't work in that. So now they've kind of you've probably got 3, maybe even 4 storylines that run alongside each other, and it's all. It's very obviously very 80s. I feel like it just picks things from different things of 80s pop culture really well, like Terminator. Just loads of bits. 11 isn't really even though she's a key character, she's not focused on as much as she was in previous series.
Yeah,
which I kind of think works, because I think we get it. We understand what 11 is and what she is. Has she got another character arc in her? I don't know if I want to see one. Does anyone want to see one? I feel like a lot of the other characters are far more interesting. Like Hopper, like Winona Ryder's character, like all the other kids.
Yeah.
So now I just feel like it's found its feet now. It really knows what its niche is, and it's going look, we're unapologetically super 80s, and we're gonna sort of show we'll wear a heart on our sleeve in a way. But really enjoyed it so far. A couple more episodes to go, but it is it reminds me of the X-Files, but for a younger audience.
I saw a picture that said Stranger Things is just the X-Files for fans of the Goonies. It kind of made sense.
Yeah, pretty
Oh,
much.
good. I'm one of those. So
Yeah. Exactly. So I've really enjoyed it so far, and certain actors who perhaps had less to do in season 2 have got like a lot more to do in this season. And I think it's better, and the writing just feels a lot better as well. You know, it just feels like it feels a lot better paced, and I feel like I actually care about the characters again. Whereas season 2, I really did, because I think we did an episode on season 2, didn't we, Lee?
Yeah.
And I think come the end of that, I was kind of exhausted from it. But now there's been obviously a bit of a break before new episodes. I feel ready to be fed more Stranger Things flavoured.
You know what? I'm still a little bit kind of like I can't be bothered to go back to it yet. I still feel a little bit tired of 80s stuff. I feel like I need a little bit longer.
I think I felt like that, but because it kind of like I got swept up in the hype of it being released on like 4th of July and everything. I started watching it, and it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's worth going back to. I think if you miss out season 3 when you've watched the first 2, you'd probably be letting yourself down, Luke. All right.
I'll give it a go. I'm still working through some other TV shows, so yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah. What about anything else?
I saw Spider-Man: Far From Home. Did you see that, Andy?
I did. Yeah, I loved it. I enjoyed it a lot.
I said, Andy, did you see it? He did see it.
It did see it. Oh, made a mistake. We'll share, I guess, Ben. I think I recovered quite well though.
Yeah. So it was like I think Andy did kind of spoil like a mid-credit sequence for me, but he did send me an emoji, and make of that what you will. And I kind of got it, but then I kind of thought, oh, what is it? This is it that? And I was questioning, but Andy was pretty good at just saying, well, I can't tell you a thing. But
I made a mistake, and I'd seen Ben had reviewed what I thought was the new movie, and I thought he'd given his comments on the new one. Misread the title. He'd actually reviewed the old one in preparation. I was like, oh, mate, this. And he was like, oh, I'm going to see it tomorrow. And I was like, fuck!
It's all right, then. Pretty good.
You reviewed Homecoming? Or...
Yeah, so I watched it like 2 days before I went to see Far From Home. I thought Far From Home was great. For me, it's still missing a certain something. It's missing a certain Spider-Man flavour. I keep describing things like that today. But it's missing a certain something. Maybe it's the tragedy of the character, or maybe it's like the brutal nature of some of the fight sequences. I think that's what's missing. But this was really good, and I think what they did with the threat was incredibly unique, and probably like one of the most realised versions of a particular character.
Have you seen Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
How does Spider-Verse rate against it?
It's difficult to rate them because obviously they're very, very different experiences.
Yeah.
But they're both fun in their own right, I guess. I guess they're both equally... Like, there's something really fun about Spider-Verse, and I think the live-action movies have got that fun element as well. Like, it's a fun film, it's a funny film, all of the characters are great. But yeah, it's hard to compare them because...
very different movies, right?
Very different movies, yeah, very different movies. But this was great. And even though like you could feel like it's a bit MCU fatigue after Endgame, because it kind of feels like, oh god, Endgame, nearly 3 hours of that, so many characters. God, do we really want to watch a solo film of one of these characters? And it's like Spider-Man's probably the perfect one for that. And
a little palate cleanser, nice little sorbet.
Yeah, exactly. It brings in the elements of Endgame and kind of like sums up some things and maybe fills in some plot holes for you as well, where you're thinking, well, how are they going to get away with that, or what does that mean? So yeah, really good, and good to see Spider-Man come up against a threat which was slightly different to just essentially another superpowered guy or someone with some very unique, especially after watching Homecoming again. I was a bit like, Michael Keaton as Vulture is great, but I just don't know if I ever felt officially convinced by him as a threat, even though like he messes up Spider-Man a few times. I just never really felt convinced, but this time I kind of did feel convinced. So, worth a go.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah, look forward to it. What about you, Andy?
I've done a little bit of horror catching up. I watched a couple of things that have been on my list to catch up on for a while. I watched As Above, So Below.
Okay.
That was good.
I liked
didn't.
it. Sorry, years
I had
ago,
no
but,
idea it was
yeah.
found footage until I actually sat down to watch it, or like a handycam type film. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. It goes a bit funny towards the end, but there's some really good bits, and it's like really, it's really quite intense. Like quite early on, like just when things start to go wrong, it's brutal.
You mean like the claustrophobic bits?
Yeah, the claustrophobia, and then when people, the bit that got me is slight spoilers for this film, I guess. You know when the guy who has, it's her original cameraman, the sort of Lara Croft Tomb Raider lady.
Yeah.
Her original camera guy who's had a few attacks of claustrophobia, and then he's not very good at the climbing and stuff. The bit where he gets just whizzed down that hole, and that woman comes up behind him and shoves him down. Yeah, it's that had me. We were watching it not on a Sunday morning like we should have. We were watching it late of an evening. Bit spooky.
Ill advised. Yeah.
But,
it's been years since I saw that, and I remember thinking it was surprisingly good.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much out of it at all. And then the other day, on a trip to Swindon, I had a quiet evening, and I sat and watched It Comes at Night.
Okay, yeah.
It's a bleak old affair, wasn't it? It was good, very well done, but like I just had to sit quietly for a bit after it was finished. Like,
there we go. It was one of those films that didn't like from seeing trailers and that you kind of expected it to be one thing, didn't you? And it didn't.
No,
it didn't really get there, or it didn't. I'm trying to remind myself exactly what the twist is, because it's a bit of a twist. Okay. Oh yeah, I guess.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's more such of a twist. More a bit like, oh,
revelation.
It's a bit sad.
It's just a bit sad.
It's kind of a bit sad. It's not a. As far as I can tell, maybe I've missed some huge bit of subtext, but it's not really a ghoulie or a monster, and we never really get a payoff to all the mystery. It's just oh, you're all fucked.
You get a bit of like horror blue balls from it.
Yeah,
it's quite.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a tease.
Let me see something, anything.
Yeah, really aching after I'd finished. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's it. Just logging my way through Resident Evil 6 still. It's been a grind. I'm almost there.
Oh
wow. So I caught The Perfection on Netflix. I saw some people on a group talking about it. Have you watched it yet? Do you know much about it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
It's
Andy,
strange, right?
have you seen it, Andy? I don't want to...
The Perfection, no.
Yeah, okay,
no, I
so
know very little about it.
Won't spoil it because you do kind of have to go in blind. It's all I'd say is, so it's about a cello player and another cello player and their sort of relationship between each other. It's very twisty, and it's it definitely goes to some weird places. It's not really like believable. Like you'd watch it, you think that doesn't really make that much sense, but it's a lot of fun. Like it's
not believable, and nobody seems to act like a human being would act.
No.
Nobody like reacts like a human being would act in a particular situation.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a weird one, and I think it was trying to be a bit of a Black Swan-esque sort of.
Okay.
Black Swan.
Yeah, I think it's more tongue in cheek than that though. It seems a bit more like they understand that it's ludicrous. Do you not think?
What was that, sir?
I've kind of got the impression that the filmmakers understood what they were doing was pretty ludicrous. Like it seemed like they were having a bit more fun with it, but
yeah, maybe. I don't know. You know, sometimes when you're just not in the right frame of mind for something,
yeah.
I just don't like feeling it. I was a bit like, you know, when you're really cynical and you're watching something,
yeah.
you're like going,
when you hate watching, yeah,
a little bit like that.
Yeah. No, I think it's worth watching. I think it's I don't know if it's like the most. It's fun. It's a little bit of a ride for you. It's a little fun ride.
Give it a go. Is it on Netflix? Shudder?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Netflix. Yeah, it's Netflix original. And then I watched The Headhunter, which was the best way I can describe it. It's like extremely low budget. So it's half the budget of Blair Witch Project. So it's like micro budget, and it's almost like a broody, atmospheric Skyrim, a horror movie set within the world of Skyrim, but it's like two locations in the woods. But it's like about a guy who's like a sellsword, but he only kills monsters. He gets contracts and he goes and kills monsters, takes the heads, and then you find out that one of these monsters killed his daughter, and he's sort of seeking revenge. So he wants a certain head, but it's very sort of broody, not much action purely because they just didn't have
Cost
money
too
to.
much.
Yeah, exactly.
A micro budget film with monsters, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so a lot of it sort of happens off camera, but they do a lot of stuff for like shadows, where like you see stuff. But towards the end, like you do get more monster stuff. But then it's I'd like to see. I really would like to see it again with like a proper budget, because it could be amazing. Like the music's great, like the atmosphere is great. It all works so well, apart from the fact that they couldn't show these monster fights. They just have to sort of hint at them. But there's one bit where he looks up and you see the shadow of a dragon fly over his face, and you think that must have taken them, like, two filmmakers, ages to do that shadow. It would have been cool to actually have a.
This over the camera because I got no vision.
But yeah, it's good. I think it feels like a good demo for what could be a really amazingly sort of interesting idea for a film.
I'd give that a go. I'd like to see some. It's kind of a cross genre, is it? It's like a horror fantasy, right? So in an imaginary world. All right, I'd be up for that.
Yeah, it's gritty. If you just imagine Skyrim, one character, but it's like gritty horror, brooding horror. It's good.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I was watched Midsommar, which is today's film.
Of course.
Yeah.
Summer. Are we saying Midsommar? Some people are saying Midsummer. Someone asked me, is it like a remake of Midsummer Night's Dream?
They say yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
And John Nettles turns up at the end like Nick Fury, saying there's been a murder.
Yeah. So I mean, what have you got? A bit of a blurb about it, Ben?
Yeah. So Midsommar is a 2019 folk horror film written and directed by Ari Aster and starring Florence Pugh, Jack Reynor, William Jackson Harper, and Will Poulter. So it's about a couple travel to Sweden to visit a rural hometown's fabled midsummer festival. What begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into an increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult.
Cool, yeah. I mean, it's doing quite well. Rotten Tomatoes 83%. Audience score is only 61%, so they're not enjoying it as much. IMDb says 7.8 out of 10. It's I don't know. It's an interesting one. I mean, Hereditary was one of our favourite films last year. So I mean, how does it? Were you excited, Ben?
Yeah, I was excited. I mean, it's odd for somebody to like release a film 12 months after such a big film of theirs, isn't it? I mean, it's not. That's kind of not. I mean, who's the last person who did that? Do you think who had a big hit and then 12 months later, here's another one, mate. Have another one down your neck.
Yeah. Do you think they were already making this one when Hereditary was out? All right. Yeah.
I mean, it's wasn't it? Yeah, I was looking forward to this quite a lot. It looked very unique. It seemed to be like the same vibe as Hereditary, which I think coming out of it, I kind of feel the same. I feel like it's very much the same vibe.
Yeah.
Very much the sort of pacing, similar sort of shots. I mean, already, even though it's Ari Aster's second film, I can already see like little director trademarks.
Old naked people.
Old naked people is one of them.
Yeah.
Definitely. But like little director trademarks in terms of like different shots and
Yeah.
you know way things are lit. Even though this film's obviously very well lit by the old sun in the sky.
It never goes down.
Just
But
different.
I think that makes it sound harder to light, because like it's bleaching everything out constantly.
Yeah.
But that's kind of
It's very
the
bleachy.
stylistic. Yeah.
It is very bleachy. I think
Yeah.
you kind of become adjusted to the way this film looks, and I think once you finish watching it and then you see clips of it again, you think, oh my god, it is so bleached out and bright, and
Yeah.
it's very. I mean, it is the best way to describe this film is like a trip, because it's the most trippy. There's so many trippy visuals, but the sun, that bleached out effect as well, just kind of makes you feel like you're just at a festival.
Yeah.
Where there's not a cloud in the sky, and you know, horrible things are happening. Not that that's happened to me before,
Yeah.
but you know,
It feels
But
like
yeah.
it feels like folk horror is like the buzzword at the minute. Like it feels like a lot of people are talking about folk horror, going on about it all the time. So I was quite excited to see something that sort of took on that Wicker Man aspect, and it definitely does take on the Wicker Man aspect, maybe to a fault.
yeah. I feel like after seeing the trailers and after seeing a lot of the buzz for this, I kind of thought that it was a folk horror, but perhaps we're going to see something entirely new that perhaps we hadn't seen in the folk horror genre before. I don't think it quite achieves that. I think everything that kind of happens is either to be expected or it feels like it's borrowed from something else. That's not to this film's detriment at all. I think this film is really good. The whole pacing of it, a lot of the performances, the genuine. Again, is this like it's a horror film? Yes, but it's just disturbing more so than scary as such, isn't it? Because you know when you get a lot of these new horrors and you see the buzzwords on the trailers and the TV spots where it just says you'll not be able to take your eyes off the screen, you'll be shaking, it'll change your life, all this shit. It's just like a bit of disturbing, isn't it, really? It's a disturbing watch, and rather than being like, holy shit, or oh, that's terrifying, it's a bit more like, what the fuck is going on?
There's like a growing dread about it, isn't there? Like, I can tell you that I was sat in the cinema knowing that we were all watching it, we were going to get together and talk about it this week, I'd say, and we'll get into it, I guess, but the first 5 or 10 minutes of that, I was thinking, oh shit, we're not going to be able to make light of this very well because this is like grim and very triggering for a lot of, I can imagine this is it's a fairly intense, very related to like grief and loss and like horrible things that are very difficult to like make light of. But thankfully by the end there was a little bit more into the realms of ridiculousness, but having not seen Hereditary yet, this was an experience. I've got it on DVD. I bought it. It's on my shelf.
Oh, you've not seen Hereditary?
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
I took the pressure off by listening to you guys talk about it. I was like, no, it happens. It's Pyman, innit? He's there.
Like Ben was saying, he can sort of see the Ari Aster thing. I think what I really like about his stuff already is that he doesn't mind it's not like elevated horror, it's elevated madness. Like he doesn't mind doing like stuff where it gets funny because it's so insane. Like you can't help but sort of laugh at the sort of just the lunacy of it.
I think as we discussed before, there were laughs in the cinema when we watched Hereditary, right?
Yeah, I was laughing in Hereditary.
Yeah, so you laugh at the absurd nature of it.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like I felt the same with this one, but like I didn't want to laugh as much.
But there's a bit in the cinema where everyone was laughing, like howling in one bit towards the end. Did you not get that in your cinema experience?
It was pretty empty, my cinema screen, to be fair.
Yeah.
We had some laughs in ours. It was well, you have to tell us which bit we got the biggest laugh in your crowd thing. But I think Ben's right. You're almost laughing at some bits when things really start like kicking off. You're laughing in almost disbelief.
Yeah.
Like there are some bits where it is almost comical, where we'll get to it later. But when Matey's cupping his balls because he's realised he's running about naked, like that.
Yeah.
But there's also sometimes you just laugh when some pretty horrific things happen because it's just become so surreal that I think that's the best. That's the closest reaction you can actually generate.
Yeah.
Because it's not really scream horror, is it? Because it's I guess the pacing of it. It's not like
even like I don't know how you feel about this. I kind of even expected more gore because. When this sort of rating of the film came up at the start and it's like 18, it said extreme gore.
Well, there is a bit of that, like certain bits, but
yeah, definitely. But I kind of expected a bit more. I don't know. I think Hereditary is a gorier film.
Hereditary, it's weird, Andy. You've seen this one first because Hereditary definitely has more of the genuine scare moments and the sort of the more traditional horror moments, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely got some gory bits. But you are right, and a lot of murders, a lot of killings seem to happen sort of off screen as well. Like you just
off screen, or you kind of just see something happen briefly.
Yeah,
and it doesn't. And there are certain elements of this film, especially moments from the trailer and stuff, that I thought would be much more key to the story and stuff. So there's like a disfigured boy.
Yeah.
Who we find out is sort of the product of incestuous relationships within the cult. I thought he was going to be a much more key visual.
Yeah.
I mean,
Boris is only in it a little bit, isn't he?
Boris.
Yeah. I think he's in it like 3 times.
No, he has got a name. But,
He does look like Boris Johnson. That's what I'm saying.
and there's a bit towards the end where he's just sat on a cloud.
Yeah.
Oh
That
yeah.
was
A pretend cloud, but it's there. He's just hanging about like.
It was a
doing
real
his-
cloud, Andy, all right?
They brought it down.
Yeah.
Ari Aster has described this film as being like a breakup movie rather than a horror film. He said like, I think he was going for a breakup and he decided to sort of make a breakup movie, which but not only is it a breakup movie, but I guess it's a movie about
Someone who should have definitely been broken up with.
it's like rubbish, just like awful relationships, really, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
awful,
Yeah.
like the worst parts of relationships. And I wouldn't necessarily like. I know that the character played by Jack Reynor, so the boyfriend Christian,
Yeah.
kind of getting is getting slated for being like, oh, he's an absolute terrible boyfriend. But I think neither of these people. I know Danny has been through like quite a big traumatic event, a terrible event, obviously. But I don't think either of these people start off or really go much further to be. They're not really good people. They're not really.
Well, I think
They have
it's,
any redeemable quality.
it's like the relationship should have been over, but they're
Yeah.
sort of staying together because it's sort of what they think.
Because of the tragedy, right? That is
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
I think broken up had the big tragedy not happened early
Yeah.
on. So
I put here, so Florence Pugh plays Danny. I've not really seen Florence Pugh in much before, but she's pretty great in this. I've put here, she nailed the chesty cough. Like, she genuinely sounds like she needs a whole soother. Like, when she's crying, like, I can't... How do you do that on purpose? That's an action trick, I don't know. Jack Reynor plays Christian. I don't recognise this guy from much myself, but...
he was in Free Fire, which was
Oh, okay. Ben Wheatley.
Wheatley sort of shoot 'em up in a warehouse film. Yeah,
I saw that.
He's
His face.
he's got some great use of nostrils in this film. I felt like he really performs.
Yeah.
Like you saw, they quivered when they were meant to quiver. They dilated.
Also, no matter what substance you put in front of him, whether it's liquid, whether it's some vapor, he'll ingest it. You just go, have a bit of this down your neck. Oh, yeah, lovely.
No questions asked.
No questions asked. Have some of this vapor. Oh, brilliant. Here's a bit of powder. Right. Oh, lovely.
Yeah, mate, have a bit of this is for your vitality. My vitality, you say?
If you went into like a Debenhams where they were like spraying various perfumes around, he'd be absolutely stinking.
Get it in my eyes.
Get it here. Yeah, I'll have that. Oh, brilliant. That'll be on armpit. Go on.
He's good at looking absolutely off his face as well. The bit where he's like cowered at the dinner table, like.
Well, it's weird, isn't it? It's like, you know, when you maybe drank too much in like it's like the middle of the day, you've been up for some dinner, and you've drank too much, and you know you drank too much, and you don't want anyone to know. Like, he's doing that.
He's
face.
trying to hide it.
Yeah.
Oh no, nothing wrong, mate. I just fancy being quiet for a bit. It's all right. No, I'm just gonna have a water this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having another one in a minute. I'm just thirsty at the minute. Yeah, just.
Were you drinking 12 Sambuca shots earlier? Yeah. It was a laugh, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a laugh.
Yeah. Wilhelm Blomgren plays Pell, who's the guy who takes the others to the festival. He looks Scandinavian, so he does very good job at doing that.
Lovely.
William Jackson Harper, who I know is Chidi from The Good Place. Did you watch The Good Place?
Somebody told me that.
Yeah, he's good in it. But yeah, he did some good nerding out, I guess.
He was going there to do his thesis on the sort of the festival essentially and what it means.
Yeah,
I liked him. Of all of them, he deserved it the least. He was just trying to get his work done.
Yeah. What a square! Going to a festival and you're working.
Just do it. You're going to Europe for months, and he was going to go London after that and Germany. He should have just done it on Wikipedia. It'd have been all right.
Copy and paste. Put it in your own words. Just change a word every now and again.
Yeah.
And then
those you're referencing's fine. Then you're all right.
Will Poulter, who's kind of becoming like a go-to guy for this kind of performance. This sort of sort of like he plays the fool in the ceremony here. Like he does it really well. So he likes to take drugs, he's a bit of a dick, but you kind of laugh at him, and he's we all know a Mark.
I've got one question about something to do with this, and I think once we get into the description of it, of the story, I've got one question I really need to ask, and so just try.
If you need toilet, just go, mate.
There's a press. Remind me that there's a pressing question.
Okay.
Right?
All right. What now? When do you?
When we get to it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. When we're talking more about Will Poulter and his love of various things.
You have to burst in and be like, objection. Now it's time for my question.
Now it's time for my question. Here it is. Okay.
So I mean, in terms of the plot, it's quite a long one. I think the film was maybe half an hour too long. I think you could have trimmed half an hour from it, because
it does seem like Ari Aster likes to really take his time with various things, especially scenes where it's pretty much just dialogue.
Yeah,
I feel like it's one of those things where all of the dialogue is included, even like the little quiet, thoughtful moments between dialogue are left in, and the moments of unsurety are left in. So that's probably why it's this long, because when people are having conversations, it takes bloody ages to get to the point.
Conversely, though, he mashes through some other stuff at a rocket-in pace, and I really enjoyed this. How they transition from apartment to airport to being in Scandinavia. That was great. Nip to the toilet, and you're there.
Masterful. It was like it was insane. Just the fact
that was so good.
Yeah, I was impressed by that.
It's weird because he's a second-time filmmaker. He's got such a master of the craft. Like he just editing seems to be spot on. Like it seems to be able to pull out certain emotions when he needs to. He just seems completely confident in the making of a film. But yeah, like the bathroom scene in particular. But I mean, so the film opens.
The first thing is like this. Sorry. The first thing is like this huge sort of artist, this huge sort of like painting slash. Is it tapestry or is it like
tableau?
Painting?
Is it tableau?
If you can see that again, because I'm pretty sure it's got the characters on it.
Yeah.
And it seems to be split into like 4 sections, which throughout this film we kind of learn a lot about the 4 seasons. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. There's a lot of stuff to do with the cult that's kind of based around those 4 seasons. So it looked like it was almost like a sort of just it was showing what was going to happen in the film. So.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like all this is inevitable. We already know what's going to happen from the get-go. It's going to end up with people burning. But it's the journey that counts. So if we open with, I think we basically got Danny is sad because she's trying to get in touch with her sister, but she won't get back to her. She's a bit worried because the sister's a bit off.
She sent like a cryptic email, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going and mum and dad are coming with me. So obviously she understands that her sister's got some sort of bipolar condition. But she does this a lot, apparently. Sends a lot of these cryptic messages. So her boyfriend Christian's a bit on the phone to Danny, and he's saying like she's done this loads of time before, don't worry.
Yeah. I mean, we could sort of we can kind of sympathise with both sides at this point. I think, like Dan, I think he obviously wants to break up with a girlfriend. Doesn't want to. He kind of wants to support her, not let her get sort of pushed around by the sister and sort of pulled into the drama. But well, what can you do? But anyway, so we realise that she has committed suicide, and it's a really sort of brutal scene. It's like a brutal reveal, anyway.
Yeah, with the fireman sort of going slowly through the house, and then you kind of see that the suicide has happened, I guess, where the sister has done some like plumbing work through the house, so the exhaust of the cars from the garage gasses them all to death. She's sort of taped the hose from one car to herself and sort of carbon monoxided her parents in bed with the other. What I was going to ask you guys, and maybe this is clear somewhere else, is it meant to be that when she said, like, Mom and Dad are coming with me, is it that she's done that to Mom and Dad when they were just asleep and has killed them, like a murder? Or is it that they've agreed to do it and her whole family's abandoned her? What's the take on that?
I don't think they would have committed suicide on purpose.
No, I got the idea that it was a murder suicide, wasn't it? So she killed those two, but she killed herself as well. So obviously, we do see both sides of the relationship here, don't we? So we see Danny's a bit like, even though she's been with him like 4 years, she's still kind of like unsure about whether she's being too much or whether she's being too pushy or pushing too many of her problems onto him. So she's sort of like talking to one of her friends. Christian as well is a bit like, she's maybe a bit too clingy. And his friends are kind of like saying to him, "You wanted out of this relationship for a year now." So clearly they both got issues. But then this tragedy, I mean, the first thing I thought was, well, he ain't going to be able to split over now, is he?
Yeah. And it seemed like he was pretty much intent on breaking up with her until that phone call.
Because his friends had sort of talked him round to it, right? One in like, in both ways, like putting pressure on different ways. I think Mark is saying, "Oh, all those other people you can be getting with," because a waitress kind of gives him the eyes in the pizza place that they're in, and they talk about going to Norway later in the year, and they're like, "Oh, okay." He's sort of getting at him from that angle, and then Joseph's like, "I need to do your homework, your important homework that you need to do that I'm doing right now," and he's there, and he's like, "Oh, all right," and then of course the phone goes, and they don't want to let him answer it, but he does, and then another very rapid scene transition, right? So you hear the phone pick up and you hear the howling, the crying on the phone, and then it transitions to them being together, right? And her crying on his lap.
Yeah. I think the audio transitions to the fire engine.
The fireman coming in.
Yeah, it's really well done. So then I think we cut to, I don't know, a few weeks later. She's
well, it seems
it's got to be almost 6 months, right?
Yeah, this first scene's like in the winter because it's snowing, and then as soon as it cut, it's sort of like the summer. Yeah, so
because they're going in middle of summer, I guess.
Yeah. So Danny and Christian go to a party together, where his friends kind of like basically start talking about this plan that they've got to take a trip to Sweden to go to this festival, and then Danny obviously says, "Well, I didn't know you were doing that," and he's like, obviously Christian's playing dumb. He's a bit like, "Yeah, I told you about it, didn't I? Oh, I probably won't even go. I've got my ticket though."
Yeah, he's such a gaslighting motherfucker, isn't he? Like, "Oh, now you've had a go at me, so now I feel bad. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go and leave it." Like you son of a bitch, Christian.
It's not a healthy relationship at all, is it? But they're clearly are. They've got frustrations from both sides with each other, and it does seem like at this point, it seems like looking at this relationship as a relationship where they're both just kind of in for the sake of being in a relationship, and they can't really get out of it.
No one's got the guts to upset the other one enough to actually say, "Look, I'm done." And I'm with you. I kind of get it that even if you were unhappy, it would be very difficult if someone had something even half as terrible as what's happened to then think, "Oh, and I'm also gonna break up with you." But the I guess the counter side to that is that he's a fairly awful boyfriend for while he's with her, right? 'Cause he doesn't really want to be there.
Yeah, and I mean, she kind of like does seem to rely on him for pretty much everything, it seems. I mean, who's to blame her? Because obviously she has gone through something terrible. But then, even before this tragedy happened, it did seem like she was kind of like that anyway.
Yeah. And it would seem like as well that like almost being with him feeds into the guilt she has about, and I'm relying on him too much, and so probably makes her, to an extent, more unhappy that she's then feeling guilty about that as well.
Yeah, and then there's another scene, obviously not long after this, where we find out that Danny's been invited to the Midsommar celebration in Sweden, which obviously Christian kind of announces to his friends, and then she's immediately thrust into a situation where she's with them all, and they're like, "Oh no, we don't mind you coming." "Oh, of course not." Yeah.
This is him. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to come across as very anti-Christian on this one. Not the religion. That's fine. Watch your value, please. But I think with this one as well, I think the attitude he has with Danny is kind of passed over. We see in a few ways to other aspects of his life as well. Like he has a way that he wants things to go to make his life easy, but he's super non-confrontational as well. So you see in the scene where they're back at the house, they're hanging out and doing all their coursework together, and then Danny turns up at the door and he's like, "Oh, Danny's here. I invited her over." Or while she's coming upstairs, I invited her to Sweden, and she said yes, but she's not going to come. She's not going to come.
Yeah.
She is going to come, and I've told her that it was your idea that I invited her, so you guys need to agree with that now, right? And they're like,
yeah,
fine.
You know what I mean? He's a bit of a dick. Yeah, exactly. He's a dick to his girlfriend. He's a dick to his friends. He's making everyone deal with essentially what choices he makes. You know,
it kind of puts her in an awkward situation. That sort of feeling of not quite welcome, but sort of wanting to go anyway. But I mean, the friends, the current name now, Josh is pretty okay with it. I think he's not going out there to party that much. He's going to do some work. And then what's his name? Seems weirdly happy that she's coming. Pell.
Pell, yeah.
He's thrilled to bits, isn't he?
Yeah.
At this point, I kind of thought, oh, he likes her. He's got it in. He wants a bit of Danny, because he sort of says to her as well, "I'm really glad you're coming" or something. And it's almost like even at this early stage, you can kind of see that he kind of sees the way Christian treats her and sort of sees it as potentially a problem, and maybe even that Danny deserves better, even though he's friends with him, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, is he friends with him, or is he just wants to bring them to the festival?
What's their precious fluids at the festival?
Yeah,
precious fluids.
Yeah, but so I think she goes. This is that transition. She goes to the toilet. Bish bash bosh on the plane. On the in Norway.
Yep, and then some other fancy upside down work as well.
Oh yeah,
as we drive along.
I've seen a few films that have done the upside down trip, and it works really well. It's really disconcerting.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that. It's not hugely unique, but it just seems really strange, doesn't it?
I think the pace of it as well, the fact that it turns over quite slowly and then stays there for such a long time, it sort of builds that disorientation. Before we move too far away from it as well, the sound work in this early section is pretty good as well. I love the bit where they're at the party and she's clearly feeling quite insular. So they've kind of muffled the sound like it's through headphones, right? And you can hear people are talking in the background, but you can't pick it out. Very nicely done.
I mean, it's a really good way of representing, when you're in a room full of people and you kind of feel a bit like overwhelmed by it, or maybe like a bit like you're in your own head rather than in the room. It's a really good of sort of putting that across.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it goes upside down, it makes you feel like you're taking a trip into this other strange world.
What was
the
climax? That was the dance one. That did the same thing. So at some point in the film, when it became otherworldly, it went upside down, and it really sort of makes you feel like you're on a journey to somewhere that's not quite what we know to be true, like not quite our world. Then they stop off at the first point of before they go to the actual festival place, Midsommar festival place, and it just seems like a little campsite where people take mushrooms and
like a drug field.
Yeah.
So again, there's another bit of bad juju from Christian, who kind of almost forces Danny into taking something. There's a bit of a weird where he's like, I'm going to take it now, and Danny's like, I don't want to. He's like, well, I'm going to wait for you. And then the friends are like, well, if we take it now, we're going to come up at different times.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, again, he coerces Danny, again, in that non-confrontational way.
In all, like a very, oh, you sure? Like, is this your idea? Like, Christian read the book on gaslighting people.
Yeah.
I hope someone gets in with some gaslight a bit later on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're introduced to a friend of Belle's who's brought two people, like a couple from London, Simon and Connie.
Yeah.
They're in the same boat as all of the American guys. So they've been invited. So they all take hallucinogens, and they just kind of sit around.
Yeah, and then
they have a.
What's his name? Is like.
Is it Mark?
Yeah, he's like feels like he's going to fall off the world or something. So everyone to lie down.
Yeah, this is when I knew that it was going to be okay, and there was going to be funny things in there. It's like, what time is it? It's like 9 o'clock. So it's not right.
It's not right. It's
don't like that at all.
It's 9:30, but there's the sun's high in the sky, and another guy starts walking over, and he says, "There's a new guy walking over. I don't want new people right now."
Yeah.
So I'm tripping.
For a second, I was like, "Is that Jim Broadbent that's walking by?"
Doesn't he just sort of walk by? Just like,
hello.
Yeah.
Hello. That's the thing. This is what is so disconcerting about it, is that people in the commune, these lovely Swedish people, all seem friendly, happy.
Yeah.
seem particularly sinister.
Well, they're all doing weird stuff. Like when we later on we see them all in the big field. Like you always just turn your head away from the action that we're looking at, and then there's a little group of them like doing a weird little dance for no reason, or there's like some weird
doing a handstand.
Yeah.
And obviously,
sorry, Ben, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, during Danny's trip, she noticed the grass is sort of like going through her hand or growing on her hand.
Yeah.
Which, but all the visuals now during the trip were the attention to the detail was great, because there was this sort of like weird sort of flowing pattern, sort of almost on everything.
Yeah.
On like the branches and everything, and I think that was a really good representation of that.
Like when you're in science at school and you put the gas taps on. Everything's got that kind of wobbly effect about it. And you feel a bit funny. But I think this reaffirmed my point, especially if you have a any type of mental like health like problems already. Probably I would definitely stay off the hallucinogens, because it's terrifying, and I think they capture that very well when she's running and she's panicked that the people are laughing at her, and everything's got that ever so slightly, because at this stage in the film it's really quite subtle, isn't it? Like you could, if it was on the TV and you were walking past, you wouldn't notice that it was a bit off, but when you're watching it closely you can see that things warp ever so slightly, and it's just a little bit hazy and wobbly. Very well done again.
I think that's I think Ari Aster is quite good at being nuanced and subtle with visuals. Like there's bits in Hereditary where you're looking at a silhouette of something and you really don't know if it's a ghost or something or just a pile of clothes or something. I don't think anyone's ever done it quite as nuanced as him. He's very good at just twisting things just slightly to make them quite unnerving, quite eerie.
He's quite good at like putting things in the very edges of the shot, and like in the peripherals of something.
Yeah.
Like you'll be focused on one thing, but then something over here might kind of go like, wait, what was that then? And you it's gone before you can kind of really focus on it, and it's that unnerving sense which I think adds to the atmosphere of this film. And obviously now also is the first time we really see darkness. We see darkness once or twice, but this is the first time in that where we see darkness, where the sun goes down for a couple of hours when Danny sleeps.
And it's quite jarring as well, isn't it? Because she shuts herself in the portaloo for a second, and there's like someone maybe behind her for a minute in the dark, and then when it goes from such a bright location to being so dark, it's probably one of the few scenes of darkness in the film, right?
Yeah. So she has a bad trip, wakes up, and then they go into the next. They take a wander into the actual festival grounds where it's all
like like heaven. It's heavenly, isn't it?
It's idyllic.
If you were right in real life, you'd be like, "This is amazing. I want to live here."
Yeah. It's like a yogurt advert, like someone selling coconut flavored yogurt. Yeah.
Nicole Scherzinger's got someone who knows. Oh, you idiot! What you doing?
Exactly,
You're spoiling the atmos.
Someone's running around with some jam. It's amazing. And then like they kind of tour around this place. Everyone's hugging each other. When the festival people, they come. What do you call them? The tribe people.
The elders.
The elders. Yeah. They all kind of hold each other like in a really sort of we are one person sort of way. Before
like, that's what they hold you.
I'm gonna either kiss you or headbutt you.
They put their hands on the back of their heads, and it's like you're gonna force a snog on him in a second. Ingvar hasn't asked for this.
Yeah.
But Pella seems to like everyone's his family.
He describes everyone as brothers and sisters, and his twin, right? The girl that was born on the same day. So
yeah.
So they take him around more of the fields. There's a giant yellow prism-shaped church where he says no one's allowed there. Don't go there. And then they go to there's a bear, and he just randomly says that's a bear, and then they don't even talk about it again. There's a good little gag. Good little gag with what he called Simon and Connie. When he said Ingmar met us in London, he's gonna officiate our wedding, and everyone goes really? He goes no, it's just very dry, and then they carry on.
Yeah. I was dating her before. Like, well, you dated me before. We went on a date, and I didn't even realize it was a date. He's like, yeah, well, one of those.
So we decided to be friends mutually, and then you guys started going out. Yeah, I think he's a bit sore about that old Ingvar.
Yeah. So. I mean,
I've got my question. Here's my question.
Okay, yeah.
Professional question. People end up like with pints of beer. Where's the bar in this ancient commune? People
Did you not
drinking
see the
pints of beer in plastic pint glasses.
What's the festival?
Where's the bar?
Download. There's like Download Festival. They have like a pop-up Foster's tent at the back. Did you not see that? Tuborg.
Yeah,
They're selling
seriously,
Tuborg.
why is that never touched upon? Why doesn't anyone go, look, yeah, we have got a bar.
I bet it's
yeah.
cider. I bet because they must have like cider presses and just big kegs of it somewhere. Or
It's weird.
Yeah.
It added to the this is a festival
yeah,
type of vibe for me,
Yeah.
definitely. But at the same time, it felt a bit out of place considering it feels like a yogurt advert and people are coming back with £6 pints of Tuborg.
yeah,
Maybe it's gone full festival, and even more so than the blow up Foster's tent. They've got the, when sometimes you can't be asked to even go and find a bar, and there's just someone with a huge backpack of beer, and there's little cups that are going around. They're just topping you off. That are premium, of course.
Yes, premium.
So,
So yeah, they get put into this sort of like bunk room as well, which is pretty
yeah.
sort of like blue. Loads of sort of like drawings and letterings and runes and stuff all over the place, floral stuff. But they also like share a room when they sleep with loads of other people from the commune, including like babies and shit.
You think statistically those babies should have slept well at least once.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're crying.
So they're crying all the time. I reckon they do it on purpose. They give them more comfortable beds, and they've got the runes over the walls, like you say. So, and they start to hint at this point that they might be. Well, certainly the guys believe in them being magic, right? They show the kids learning all their runes at school, learning their dragon shouts to be in Skyrim, I guess.
yeah. I think they say they sell they export stuff from this commune, don't they? So I think alternative medicines, cider, wheat, and various stuff, drugs. So it's either the next morning or at some point where they sit on this table. These scenes are so long, they're so drawn out. I mean, it kind of works, but they're all sitting on a table. They've got to wait for someone to feel the time's right to sit down and eat, and then they all it's like a domino effect when you all sit down to eat these weird foods.
Just before this, that Pella sort of says that there's going to be a Atastupa ritual tomorrow, which Josh seems to know what it is, and he won't sort of tell anybody.
Yeah, is that what's this? Is that?
Yeah, well, you'll find out. Is it scary? Well, it might be.
Yeah.
But if he knew exactly what was going to happen, or if he knew almost what it was going to be.
He was pretty shocked when it actually happened, wasn't it? So I don't know if he completely knew.
Or he just thought it was a laugh. That Pella was having a laugh. He goes, that's a stupid ritual.
You understand with Pell, he's got he's got an ulterior motive, but you'd think if anyone else had the slightest inkling of what was going to happen, maybe you tell the girl that whose family had died in a terrible way. You might want to sit this one out. But until that point, everyone's been super accommodating because they've been to like a little TED talk at the like the maypole first, and the lady was speaking in the local language before going, "Oh, I'm neglecting our English friends at the back there. What I'm saying is this, like the announcements on a plane."
Yeah.
Do them in another language for you.
Yeah. So the Atastupa ritual, they take the old fogies on these chairs for like a nice little goodbye ride.
So they have the land,
Yeah.
and they seem to enjoy that. They do some ha 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 like
There's
you're
a lot
eating
of that.
really,
Yeah.
Yeah. You had an Airwaves chewing gum.
Do that every time I have an airwaves.
So Pella describes to everyone as well that they could, the commune kind of look at life in 4 different seasons. So from like however 0 to 18 is like spring, 18 to 36 or something like that is summer, where you
Go on a pilgrimage. Hang out.
Yeah.
And autumn is something up to 54.
Where you do your work.
Up until 72 is like you're living out the rest of your days.
I think you're teaching then,
Dan,
aren't you? Yeah.
Dan sort of says, teaching, that's it. Danny sort of says, well, what happens at 72? And then Pella just goes,
Yeah.
But they laugh.
What a joke.
Yeah.
Actually do mean that.
Yeah. So this bit, I remember I went to watch this with Dan, Mr. Daniel Wilcox, and we were both when this bit happened, looked at each other like, "Holy shit!" I wasn't expecting it to be quite as. I don't know. You expect it to happen, but it looks. It's very uncertain. It's very not. It's not dressed up in any way. Like they go to the top of the cliff thing, they jump off the cliff thing. Like that's all that happens, and it's as brutal as that sounds.
It looks, and we see it from a really long, sort of really wide shot. So we just see them landing, splat, and it looks kind of like you would expect that.
Yeah,
it's really. I think he doesn't dramatize it. It's not like a spoil this for Endgame where you're sort of beautifully posed. You know what I mean? But it's pretty visceral, brutal stuff, right?
The woman smashes her face, and the face comes off, and she's dead within like instantly. I think when the guy does it, why does the guy jump like this? Is there some purpose?
There's like a pencil jump, doesn't he? Like somebody can't dive.
Yeah. Like into a swimming pool, and his legs are fucked. So yeah, this is pretty brutal, and obviously then
the woman's got the right idea. You want to go if your purpose is to jump off and do yourself in. You've got a proper Lara Croft swan dive off it, haven't you? You've got to go for it.
Basically, he bottled it. He went, "Oh, I can't do that. Feet first, yeah." But then obviously he's in agony, and then he gets malleted in the face
several times.
Several times by various members of the cult. Who just mallet this, and this is pretty brutal. We see a nice big close up of this happening, in slow motion, a skull getting split in half.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So our English and American friends freak the hell out. I think it's only what's his name? Christian. It's only Christian and Jack who aren't that. I mean, they're bothered, but not too bothered.
Yeah, sort of like Mark he's hungover or tired, so has slept through the whole thing.
Yeah, he went and have a little kip. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Josh is kind of. I think he's more detached to it. He looks a bit like shocked he covers his mouth, but we're either led to think that he either knew and had some type of expectation of this, or he is approaching this from like the detached point of view as like a scientist. Christian's a douchebag.
One of the elders does sort of try and stop. Is it Danny and someone else to try and explain to them this is our way of life? We've been.
As it's the English guys, they really kick off, right? Because they try and stop the man jumping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, really, if you kill yourself, it would be annoying if someone was shouting, "Don't bloody do it! Who are you?"
It's weird.
Maybe that's why he bottles the jump.
They were saying like it's they die and then the baby takes on the name and it's like they believe in the rebirth. I mean, so in a way, I think I'd be a bit like Josh. Like it's horrific, but I would understand if it's someone else's belief. Who am I to say that that's definitely not what happens?
Yeah. Or you're also a writer, Luke. You could give them some new names, and then they wouldn't need to say, "Well, Luke, is anyone here called Luke? You can have that."
Just make some more names. That's how you solve this problem. Yeah.
So obviously everybody finds it disturbing, but the American group decide they're still going to stay. But Simon and Connie are sort of convinced that they're going to leave. They want to leave, and then this is obviously a bit weird. This is where you start to think, someone's a bit stinky here. Yeah. Someone's a bit stinky. Where obviously one of the elders just comes up to Connie and says, "Simon's got in the van and he's gone to the train station without you." And she's like, "Well, why would he go without me?" And he's like, "Well, there's only one seat, so they're going to come straight back and get you. It's fine." Yeah. You'd be like, "Fuck off!"
I'm running immediately into the woods. Sorry that my boyfriend's been. I wonder why you'd allow yourself to be separated in the first place. Hypothetically, in that scenario,
he needed a poop.
You and your partner are about to run away from a place where things are clearly not all as they seem.
Yeah.
And also you've committed to go there for like a month or whatever. There's not that much to do.
Well, he was like, "Okay, we'll head off, but I'll get a couple of drinks to go." Like he went to the bar.
He's gone to the inflatable Foster's tent. And he's gone, "All right, I'll go and get the bags."
Yeah. But so the guy Jim Broadbent is explaining that Simon's gone, and then Connie's freaking out to him, pretty much about to slap him in the face, and then she walks off, and he just kind of like whistles off as if it's just all part of the plan. We don't see what happens to Simon until much later. Connie, I don't think we see what happens to her. We just hear her scream.
She's one of those people at the end, but the best we get as an explanation is the next day at some meal that happens in daylight.
Yeah.
we just get a tiny bit of confirmation where literally a guy, Joe Exposition, just goes, "Oh, allow me to explain what happened. She went to the train station. A boyfriend was already there. They said sorry they couldn't say goodbye, but never try and contact them again. They're fine, I guess."
Yeah,
So
and
now that's cleared up.
They thanked me for giving a lift to the train station. But then Mark sort of confirmed later that he saw her practicing her like running technique towards the woods or something. He said he just randomly saw that. So obviously she was running from something. There are probably cult people on the around the perimeter of this place, so nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So next up, we get Christian doing another bit of classic gaslighting, which is when he basically said to Josh, "Look, I'm going to do my thesis on exactly the same thing as you. I hope you don't mind. Maybe we could work together." Actually, I'd be happy with that if we worked together. And Josh is pissed.
Yeah. Everyone knows everyone listening, if you don't know a Christian in your group of friends, it's you. It's you. Sort yourself out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's obviously being a bit dick, and then these two are sort of seen going around getting various bits of information from various cult members. Well, not cult members at this stage. We don't call it a cult, just a commune.
They get special permission from Pell, right? He's like, oh, and he's again Christian before he's brought it up with Josh has already asked first. So then he goes, well, I did ask permission first from the person who gets to say whether I get to do the homework or not. So now you have to share with me because mom and dad say.
Yeah. Does he?
That's pretty much it.
I think that's the point where we get introduced to the unclouded Boris, right? They allow him in to look at the big book they've got there.
Yeah, and one of the elders explains to Josh. I think they're having like a research day, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where Christian is finding out that incest is something they frown upon. So sometimes they invite outsiders in to make sure that
and
for a small community they don't get too much inbreeding. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Josh is having a chat with one of the elders, and he has said that when you need a Boris, you need someone who is unclouded by regular cognition, so they can interpret the message and the will of the gods into their book. So basically, there is a boy. Boris is a child who he's kind of like maybe a teenager or a young adult, maybe who has some mental disability, and as a result, he is thought to be unclouded. So he does his drawings. He does some art, and then the elders look at his art and interpret the message. So does that invite maybe there's a bit of corruption? Oh, that picture he's done of those people in a field, I reckon that means kill outsiders.
Yeah.
Give Jim Broadbent all the cider. Well, that's his unclouded vision.
So and then we sort of look at this. Well, then what happens? I think they're having another meal now, and then they've all had too much cider. They've all had a few pints, and then Mark walks over and pisses on like a fallen tree,
which is
a holy ancestral tree, which obviously one of the commune dudes kicks off big time about, calls him a dick to put his ugly little dick away.
And moments earlier, he has seen them like shoveling the ashes of the people that sacrificed themselves on that tree. Like, I know he didn't know, but the clues might have been there.
Yeah, and also I think that's pretty close to where everyone was. I'd go a bit further away. And they must have toilets. They must have like some portaloos on site, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, having an inflatable bar, there'll be a whole line of them. You know, those big green ones you get at a festival.
Yeah.
So that happens, and then not long after, and during that meal, he kind of gets lured away by a female member of the commune who...
We've seen this a couple of times, right? I think we've missed a little bit of another tapestry a little bit earlier on, but there's a couple of people, after the talk about the getting outsiders to breed, there is one girl who's been making eyes at Mark, you know, subtly in a couple of scenes, like she'll come out and just have a little cheeky wave at him. And then for Christian, there is a red-headed girl who is another member of the commune who is fully staring at him all the time. And we've seen a little tapestry earlier on where we've seen a story of a girl.
Tapestry.
They call it.
Yeah,
A
it
love
is a
story.
tapestry.
They call it a love story. They say, "Oh,
Yeah.
let's see that's a bloody love story." That is.
Yeah.
And it looks
And it's like a
fun.
girl, a boy. There's a boy who doesn't love this girl, so she does what any normal person would do to attract someone who hasn't immediately fallen for them. What you want to do is you want to get a little bit of your menstrual blood and whack that in his lemonade, and then you want to get a little bit of your pubes and whack it in his pie. His eyes will go wibbly wobbly, and he will be well into it.
Yeah.
It'll be yours.
That was the menstrual blood in the juice was kind of subtly, sort of like it was only his orange juice that was slightly red.
Only his was a blood orange. It'd be like,
I asked, why have everyone got lemonade? I've got Iron Brew. What's going on here, lads?
yeah. I'll have a Sprite, thanks.
Yeah. So he bites into the pie. He gets a pube stuck in his tooth, which happens with us all. And then so Mark also earlier they're dancing around, and Pele says, they're playing Skin the Fool, Mark gets lured away, and I think the precursor there is that Mark is the fool, but we don't see what happened to him really. Just sort of.
It sort of hinted. I'd entirely forgotten that earlier in Innocent Dancing they say they're playing a game of Skin the Fool, and then later someone who is quite foolish is allegedly skinned. So it's funny how what they do as children's games, as they are kind of indoctrinating the young people into this into their way of life, I guess, becomes what is the serious murder business when you're a bit older. So you're right, Mark has been led away because he's had a pube in his pie. Christian has immediately downed his blood juice because he's got to wash the taste of hair out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And then things are looking a bit awry, right? So right now they go to bed and there's just the three of them. Danny all this time has been continually gaslit by Christian. Pal has had a couple of conversations with her where he's kind of escalating their relationship, right? He's the only one that remembered her birthday, and has said, "Oh, I've done you this amazing picture for your birthday. Oh, Christian's forgotten." And this is my question, guys. When Danny kind of makes excuses for Christian quite a bit, and in the bit she says, "Oh, I'm sure it's no problem. I'm sure it's no problem." Pell does tell Christian, and then when they're having a conversation about it, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, babe. Like I've got you a piece of cake, and I'm going to sing you happy birthday. You didn't think I'd forget? Like I did forget a little bit, but I thought it was yesterday." And I was like, "That's worse. You thought her birthday was yesterday? That's not. That means you've definitely forgotten. If you've been like, oh shit, sorry, I thought it was tomorrow because the sun never goes down."
It's weird because if he thought it was the day before, he'd be like, he knows it was yesterday, but just couldn't be bothered to say anything about it.
Yeah. I was baking this cake. Oh, but of course, America, where we live, time difference.
Yeah. That night, I get the names mixed up. Joshua. He sneaks into the. He's been told he's not allowed to take photographs of the colouring book. But he goes anyway. He's taking some snaps of Stickman and whatever's in the book. And then he turns around, shocked to see that Mark is standing there with his knob out. And then he gets hammered on the head. And then as he's sort of
do we
groaning,
see who hammered the head?
No, I don't think so. I didn't anyway.
Just gets bonked on the noggin, doesn't he? And he's right. He gets a little gash across the back of his head.
Yeah.
But I see. Is it Boris that's wearing Mark's face?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I wasn't sure. I thought it was initially, but then I don't think it was. Yeah. Wearing Mark's skinned face. This was obviously proper Leatherface. He looked proper Leatherface at this moment, which was pretty scary. And then Josh gets dragged away. So dead.
So now we're just down to the British couple have disappeared. All their friends have disappeared. It's kind of just Christian and Danny left, right? And we begin with a little announcement over breakfast. Oh, we're sorry to say that the sacred book has gone missing. Like volume 9 has gone missing.
Now, smash it.
If anyone, they do the thing like the school thing again. It's like, no one's going to be angry. We just do want it back though, so no one's going to be in the library for the afternoon. No one's going to be watching it. So if you just put it back in there, say no more about it. But I assume that the book hasn't really gone missing. It's just to sell the fact to our remaining people that maybe Josh has run away with the book, right?
Yeah, I think because they're running out of excuses to explain why people have disappeared at this point, aren't they? Like, where have they gone? Well, they've gone home. Where's he gone? Well, he stole the book and he ran away. Where's your other mate?
He's just with that girl still. Or he said he's going to get some smokes, so he'll be back in.
Get some smokes. Yeah. He'll be back soon.
No one cares about Mark. He's an idiot. Oh, he's probably pissing on a tree somewhere.
Yeah.
There's like a dancing competition now where Danny's all dolled up to look the same as everybody else in the white robes and the flower crown, and she drinks something which what is it, sambuca?
Yeah,
that's a little bit of that's a little bit of squash.
Bit of squash, yeah.
She says, this is you have to look that lady in the eyes while you take it, and then she's like, oh, what is it? And she goes, oh, it's squash.
What it is. So yeah, then the maypole dancing competition where loads of the girls from the commune are running around and sort of every few minutes or however long it is.
She's really hallucinating now, don't she? I think is this when like the flowers are like winking at her? Like
that's a little bit later when she gets the crown on. Things are a bit wibbly wobbly though.
She starts talking in Norwegian.
Yeah,
she just randomly starts talking Norwegian.
I understand what you're saying. Norwegian. Swedish?
But in reality, she was like, and they're like, yeah.
She's watched an episode of Pingu in her time. She knows.
So while this is happening, Christian's milling about, and he's basically just getting drugged left, right, and centre.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a great bit where she's like, "Here, drink this," and he goes, "What is it? Why it would lower your inhibitions and make you more open to influence." And he's like, no, I don't really want it. No, you should definitely have it.
No, I don't want to have a bad test. She literally says it will take away your defences.
Yeah.
Someone says that to me, I'd be like, you know what I am a big fan of? Probably top 3. My defences. Love them.
Yeah, and what's his name keeps looking at him like she wants to eat him. Like she's looking at him like he's a steamed ham. Like in the cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah, she is, and she's already been fairly intensely glaring at him.
Yeah.
For the entire movie.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if this was? That's probably why they had to get rid of the English couple. Because you imagine if you had if this was the other way around and it was we've already seen the English couple a bit more fiery. Can you imagine how Connie would have reacted had her boyfriend had like that girl blatantly staring at him the whole time? She'd have kicked off.
I mean, it's kind of date rapey, isn't it? That they're sort of drugging him to force him to do something. But then I'm thinking, but it's not. I don't know if it's necessarily that he doesn't want to do it. He seems kind of up for the idea of.
Yeah, he's looking for the excuse, right? Because Christian's no good.
Yeah, he's always like, oh bloody hell, if I must. That's the attitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously Danny wins the maypole dancing competition, as various people they kind of just run into each other and then fall over, and then there's like,
it's like Beyblade. Right. It's like playing Beyblades.
It's like Beyblade, yeah. And she wins, and I guess she's a bit shocked or she's a bit confused. Like, have I won? What's going on?
Yeah.
Everyone gathers around her, puts a big old flower crown on her head.
And this is where it's winking. So the flowers are like gaping and winking all over the place now because the hallucinations have pretty much gone to the max, and they're both absolutely tripping balls. So she has a big old crown of winky flowers, and they sit for a big dinner, a bit like when the people who were about to go and jump off the cliffs were, but now she is the guest of honor. They all sit down when she's sitting down, and Christian, now off his tits and like hunched into like a little ball, just comes and sits at an empty space like a golem.
Yeah, and he says to an old dude next to him, who looks like the organizer of Glastonbury. What's his name? Michael Eavis. And he goes, "Oh, what's going on? I feel fucked." And he gives him a thunderclap straight in the face.
Yeah. He gives him like an incredible Hulk clap that like
Yeah.
shatters reality, and he's just like,
He goes, "Oh, fucking hell."
yeah. So
I'm having a white year. And then Danny. I'm having a bad time. He goes, "I could do with a pint of Foster's."
just
Level my
Yeah.
level.
he's done. He needs no more cider. They've given him the snake bite. That's what they've done. They've mixed the cider and the lager together in the Foster's tent, and now he's drunk that up. He's like, "Oh no, I've mixed grape and grain."
Yeah.
It looked like he might be having a stroke.
Yeah.
I thought he was sat in such a way at one point. I thought old Redhead was under the table trying to give him a bit of the old because he was like going, "Oh."
She's trying to raise the dragon sword.
Slurping him off.
Yeah.
So Danny goes off to do like a little sort of ritual thing
Yeah.
where she buries some meat and
Yeah.
She's herring first. They have a fun little game. That's another nice bit after all the murders. Like, you've got to try and eat this herring, and they're like,
oh yeah,
they get a massive, great old dirty fish.
Oh, well done.
Oh, they're so nice about it. They're like, "Oh, you tried really hard. Honestly, that was brilliant. Thanks for trying. And because you tried so hard, I'm sure our crops will be great." And I'm like, maybe this is just a nice thing, and those people really have just gone home.
And after he goes off to do that, the most unsubtle "come and fuck this woman" thing. They literally make a pathway with
The subtle way doesn't work with him though, because when he's mashed up at the table, she like walks and goes, "Come on, come with me there," and he's like,
"No,
"I'm fucked up. I can't."
on the right hand side.
That old man's just clapped in my face. I don't know which way's up. I've got to sit here. They go, "We'll make a path of flowers," and he'll come along, and he does. He goes in, and the people in cult dress really escalate now because they've got face veils like fences and everything. And he nips in there, and this is where the guy goes, "I'll have a vape on this. It's for your vitality." And he
It's basically Vicks Vapor Rub in hot water. He gives it. This will clear your right out, and he goes, "Fucking hell!" Man, he is off his tits. If he was like 9 out of 10 off his tits, he is 10 out of 10 tits now. And then he performs sexual intercourse
straight away because he's got it because he's got the juice for his vitality. The actor that plays Christian here does some excellent eye acting because he has like little pinpoint pupils and he's like looking from side to side. And he opens a big door and there are literally a lot of any of the women who aren't the young women that are away with Danny doing a song over the for the blessing of the crops. All of the elder women, I guess these are the women of like working age.
Yeah.
So the people between their mid-30s and their 50s and the 60s and so on, they're all in there, all naked, standing around the girl that's been giving him eyes all the time on in a circle of flowers. The subtlety's gone out the window now because she's literally around loads of naked people pointing at her saying, "Have sex with this girl," while she says, "Do you want to have sex with me now?" And as you've mentioned, this guy is high as a kite. So being a bad boyfriend as he is, Christian's like, might as well. He's been stripped naked at some point as well, right? He's in like a robe and they just go, "I'll have that."
Yeah.
And he's there as well.
It's quite an amazing moment here where, I mean, it's weird anyway, but then like the girl, it's just like she's the meat on a salad on the floor, and they say like get on that, and they let him do his thing, and then they kind of experience everything as one. So when she starts groaning, they all start groaning. And that's kind of weird. And then it just keeps escalating to the weirdness factor.
One lady holds the girl's hand and then starts looking at him in the eyes.
She starts like singing in his face.
Go on, that's how you do it. And then before you know it, another lady's behind him, literally like pushing his bum up and down.
Yeah.
This is how you do it.
The big laugh out loud moment in our cinema was the first moment where she was holding Arya's hand, whatever her name is. And she just starts singing, and Christian's face looking up, surprised. at this woman singing in his face.
And he goes, "Well, I've just come."
Yeah.
He's probably thinking, bearing in mind, without the drugs inhibiting anything, he's probably thinking, if he's got anything about him still, any self-consciousness, if he's got any defences left, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to perform here.
Yeah.
This is a very unsettling situation.
He's probably thinking this would be a good story to tell the lads back home. When I get back, I'll
But
write
then-
a blog post.
So obviously, Danny arrives back, and they're trying
It's
to
one of
keep
those
her...
sex noises.
Yeah, it wasn't those sex noises.
Yeah,
She wants to
nothing.
have a look. They're trying to keep her away from there, but she goes and has a little peep through the keyhole and sees.
They don't try very hard, do they? They're like, oh, you mustn't go in there, but I'm not going to physically stop you. Come on.
She sees it, and obviously she screams, and she's devastated, and she sort of runs back to the sort of bunkhouse, and has what is it, like a meltdown or some sort
She's
of
having like
Panic
another
attack or something.
panic attack and
Yeah.
another. We've seen her. It's a few times in the film. You've seen her get incredibly upset, where she physically sort of wails and wheezes, and it's like the most extreme version of this, but except this time, all of the other women go along with her, and they kind of, in a scene mirroring what's happening next door with Christian, they kind of experience her upset with her as well. And we've seen this earlier on as well, when the old man has jumped off the cliff and he's smashed his legs and he's screaming in pain. The people who've all been silent while the lady jumped off and died instantly all start like screaming and getting really agitated. So they kind of
It's almost like
going
they
through that
sort
pain
of
with them.
absorb some of the pain from them to try and. Well, I think that's what they sort of believe. Later on, I kind of think we realise that it's all kind of bullshit. But they're sort of taking away some of the pain, easing the pain a little bit by taking a bit of it on themselves.
I kind of maybe they were mocking her, but then as it carried on, I thought, oh wait, they're actually trying to. I don't know.
Yeah.
It almost seemed.
And they turn that into kind of a song as well, don't they? Like she starts like the
Beatboxing.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then before you know it, they're properly freestyling.
Yeah. It gets like pitch perfect sort of a cappella stuff going on at one point.
Go to Sweet Child of Mine.
But so what's his name? He finishes his business, and like
You
any
get immediate regret. When they...
cheating man in that situation, turns around and runs away.
He's done it. He's like, oh, I've got to get out of here. This has got weird.
he runs out. He doesn't realise his tackle is out, and then he realises that they are, and he tries to hide him. So here's a weird thing. So he runs into. He finds Dave's, whatever his name is, leg poking out of the ground. So someone's planted
Yeah,
him like
they planted him like
a
a
seed.
like an upside down tree.
And then
Yeah.
he goes into this room to find the other
To hide,
English
I
lad.
guess.
Yeah. So they've done what's called a blood eagle, which is which I think is a Norse thing, where they sort of separate the ribs from the spine and then pull the lungs through the back, and they sort of look like wings. It's weird because it looks like they're breathing still. So I was like, is he actually meant to be still alive?
Is he
or
still
that
alive
tripping?
in the chicken house?
He's
Because there are
spatchcocked,
chunks
isn't he?
over the floor, right? Yeah, they spatchcocked him in the chicken house.
Yeah.
Oh, it did seem like he's still alive. I was kind of. There's quite a good scene here, quite a good moment here where Christian sort of like tries to look at him dead in the eyes. He's got flowers for eyes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then as he kind of like looks up, there's a guy ready to blow some bloody dust in his face.
Yeah, Jim Broadbent's right there, and he's like, geez, if I have one more type of drugs today, I'm probably going to get paralysed.
Yeah.
And then what should happen?
And then, lo and behold, there we go. And then it's kind of revealed, what the cult have been doing. That there's the conclusion of the ritual. They had 9 human sacrifices, so 4 of which were outsiders, who were Josh, Mark, Connie, and Simon. 4 cult members, who were like the 2 elders who jumped off the cliff, and then 2 living volunteers. One who's like Ingmar, and another guy who decides. And then they've literally got a lottery system for the
Yeah.
final.
They've literally got a bingo machine, haven't they? It's like 2 little ducks.
Yeah.
And so there's one.
You
guy
are
called
fucked.
Random villager, a random villager, and then we've got Christian, who's in a little wheelchair, all paralysed, and it's like basically it's this random villager or it's Christian, and the person who has to choose is Danny. And obviously, even though we don't see her make the decision, we're made to think because she's finally had enough of his shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the countdown clock comes on. It's right, 30 seconds. You can choose who
Yeah.
you want to murder. The boyfriend who
Did it?
It's pretty bad.
Diddle it.
Yeah.
Did it.
All right, we'll make it easier for
Pencils
you. Don't
down.
choose who you want
Yeah.
don't choose who you want to murder. Choose who you want to murder the least.
Yeah.
I mean, and then we'll do the detail.
Yeah, so as you say, we don't see her make a choice, but the next thing we see is the return of the bear that we saw earlier on. The bear is dead now. Who knows how it died off screen, but the bear is dead, and they are skinning the bear so they can put Christian's paralyzed body into the bear so we can represent the beast. I guess that's like,
Yeah.
you know...
They even like call him, "You big beastie prick. You are such a dick."
So he gets sort of sewn into the bear costume, all while having this look on his face where he's like, "Fucking hell!"
Because he can still do his eye acting even though he's paralyzed. So he's looking around, sewn into a bear outfit. Because of the way the bear outfit looks, I did get sort of flashbacks to what was it, Bo Selector where he had the bear?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh no, my penis is popped out. It was basically identical to Nicolas Cage when he gets into that bear costume in The Wicker Man and
knocks that woman out. Yeah.
It reminded me of that. And obviously we see all the various bodies who have been prepared in different ways. Mark, who was like on a scarecrow body, like his face
with a fool's hat on because he's been skinned and he's the fool. I assumed that the body that was quite unrecognizable, that was all like waterlogged and drowned, that might have been Connie, because it's the only one I can't account for.
Yeah, he was there, and then the elders who had sort of like branches coming out of them. That was right. Was that one?
Yeah.
Weren't they just like to because they cremated those guys? Maybe they just
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Maybe I know that the two bodies that they say are the two people that have already been offered. Maybe that's just some type of symbolic thing they use to symbolize those people. We see those guys get cremated, but they died, so that's fine.
The volunteers just kind of sit in there as well, and it's inside the temple, the triangular yellow temple, and there's like hay bales, which are kind of like in this sort of what shape is that? Sort of like this figure 8 sort of thing, and then they just all get burnt alive, and
which is what you kind of expect in this kind of film.
Yeah. This is definitely what you expected. This is like the penultimate moment, which you kind of knew it was going to be building to something like this, and
So here's where I was like, so they do this share as Ingmar and the other guy who aren't paralyzed, they're burning and they're screaming because they're like in terrible agony, and everyone outside looking on is like doing the we feel your pain, we're sharing your pain sort of thing. Thingy starts to do it as well for a little bit, Danny, but then she stops and she's the only one who isn't doing it. And it makes me feel like she's kind of disproving their religion in a way by not sharing the pain.
She has a little smile at the end, though. Maybe she just thinks, like, because they sort of recognise when she becomes the queen, she's like, "Oh, you're one of the family now." So, are we to assume that she's gonna hang out with them and live there now?
There's like final shot of like Christian's burned face. It's like half melted. It's quite an eerie image. So I don't think I'm going to forget anytime soon.
A great shot is when the temple's on fire and we sort of see Danny sort of like stumbling around, crying and screaming with this huge heavy flower dress on. I think that was pretty.
It's like she fell into like a shrubbery and then just couldn't get out, and it's.
I'm stuck.
But it's a pretty effective ending. I think it's good. I mean, even though we sort of know what we've seen it before, but still.
That's what I was going to say. Like with the ending, how soon into the film did you guys sort of think, okay, this is where it's going to end? She's going to end up.
I kind of knew from the start, to be honest. Yeah, I kind of figured from the get-go.
I wasn't sure where it was going to go, but I don't know if it went anywhere that really surprised me that much. That's not to say I think it was a predictable film. It just didn't really go places that perhaps I expected it to. So I think for me, it was a really good film. It was almost a perfect film for me because I think visually, stylistically, performance-wise, music-wise, it ticked all the boxes. But I just think there's something holding it back for me that it never quite got to somewhere. I mean, it was really disturbing, but it never quite got somewhere that really did shock me.
So I will say, Hereditary, it's difficult not to compare the two in a way. Hereditary really had some twists in it. Like, you did not know where that film was going. After like the first 20 minutes, you were like, okay, all bets are off. I don't know where this is going now. But Yeah, this is great. I mean, I think it was the horror of the inevitable. Like, you sort of knew it was going to happen. It's just, how is it going to play out?
Yeah. I was of two minds as to what was going to happen to Dani, whether she would also be sacrificed, because I didn't see where they mentioned the May Queens, the people who have been chosen, and we don't see many of the old ones knocking about with their sashes still.
Yeah.
I kind of does this mean now she's going to stay there? Does she feel like this is her new family or something? She feels like she's got a place, got no Christian to worry about. She's got no family.
Yeah.
She's going to stay there now.
I think she'll stay. Yeah.
That's what I assumed to happen.
I trust these people. You'd be like, yeah, I'm the May Queen, but please don't sacrifice me.
Yeah.
No, we want you to be the May Queen. Yeah, but don't, please.
Well, they will eventually when she has to jump off the cliff.
Yeah, when you're 71, you'll have to jump off. Or if your name comes up in the lottery and you aren't up against someone who's a terrible boyfriend.
That's every 90 years, though, isn't it? So that's...
you'll be alright then.
That. Yeah.
That's only every 90 years. That's alright.
Yeah.
Did you stay for the post-credit sequence where Nick Fury turns up and says, "I want to recruit the May Queen for the new Avengers"?
Yeah, it's.
By the way, one more question. Did anybody walk out with your screening? I guess, Ben, they must have walked out before the film even started. But Andy, did you have any walkouts? Because we had 2 people walk out after the initial nuts at street, whatever we called it, where the 2 people jumped off the thing. I think they were like, "No, this is too gory." And these 2 older women just walked out.
No, we didn't have any.
There were some people sat behind me who there was a guy and he was huffing a bit, like throughout it.
Yeah.
It was like he wasn't enjoying it, and he was like.
Yeah. I can tell some people, it wasn't made for everyone, was it? This film.
It's the same as Hereditary, really. Like, again, it's going to be another film that's kind of marketed as being not a traditional horror, but something that leans heavily on like modern horror trope, and people are going to be thinking, "Oh, I can't wait to see that. It's going to be terrifying." And then it's not. It's not that. It's a completely different. It's a very visceral horror experience, isn't it? Like,
harkening back to what you were saying earlier on and the horror news, I think when you sell a film and you market a film as being shocking and you say that people are going to walk out, then I think some of your audience will go expecting a Saw, like a torture, horror, intense gore type of thing, or maybe an Exorcist, something that's deeply controversially disturbing for what is of the time. I'm torn between people walking out because I think some of the horror is delivered in quite a sustained way. I think it could be triggering for people who have, if you have sort of grief or mental health or a loss in family, that could be extremely upsetting for some people. So I would imagine
a boyfriend who kind of wants to break up with you.
If you've got a gaslighting boyfriend who's always saying,
"It's just,
oh, you asked me a question. Well, now I feel bad, so I guess I'll just go and leave you alone in the house."
It's just like an uncomfortable watch for a lot of different reasons. It's uncomfortable because it kind of approaches things in a way which are perhaps. It's just like I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but it approaches things in a way which makes this film just a really difficult watch. It hits you over the head with things in a way where you really got to approach them in a
if you don't jump off the thing properly. That's what got not so much from me, but I was kind of sat with Karen, my wife, in the cinema watching her watch it, and Karen doesn't really like anything that's like extreme gore or torture or anything like that. So as we were getting towards the scene where people were about to jump off, she, consciously made the decision to look away as they were jumping. And the same again when people approach the old man with the hammer. She kind of, watched it through her hands or whatever. And I think it can be quite shocking because there are bits later on where we didn't talk about it because it's a minor scene, but Dani has a nightmare. And in that nightmare, it flashes to the man getting his head smashed again. And it is so quick that you would not be able to look away. And she physically, recoiled when it
so realistic.
Came up. Yeah.
It would look really realistic. The way his head's sealed back together. Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. I've got some trivia, by the way. Well, not really. Because this film doesn't have any trivia. It's too new. And I don't know enough about it. So I've gone for a Norway. The trivia is Norway or yes way. So, is this a true fact about Norway, or
is it Norway or Sweden?
Is this only the Norway? I thought it was Norwegian. Is it not Norwegian?
It's Swedish, isn't it? So you said it a couple of times. I was a bit. I couldn't sure whether I was getting it
It
wrong.
is Swedish. Oh,
Yeah, I've said both during this
I know why I've gone for Norway. It's because I was talking to a Norwegian guy yesterday, and I've just assumed well, this is a Norway-based trivia, so you're just going to assume that the film
Let's
takes
do
place in
some
Norway.
Norway-based trivia. Just because
Okay.
you love Norway, that's literally the reason.
So it's Norway or Yes Way.
Very
Right?
good.
Number 1, the Nor in Northern Lights is short for Norway.
I'm going to go with
Norway.
Norway.
That's true. It's actually short for Norks. Number 2, Norway supplies London with a Christmas tree every year.
True.
That is
Yes Way.
Yes Way.
True, that's Yes Way. Correct. Number 3, Norway introduced salmon sushi to the Japanese.
Norway.
Yes.
I reckon they worked it out themselves.
Yes Way.
It is Yes Way.
Yes Way. Very
Yes
good.
Way. Okay,
Well, you know.
I've got 3 places in Norway. One of them is not real. Okay, so say immediately if they're Yes Way or Norway. Lofoten,
Yes Way.
Han Solo,
Norway.
Flams Banner.
Yes Way.
Yes Way.
No, you got them all right. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
You saw through my Han Solo one, but I thought that was good. I was going to try and pronounce it as Hanslow, but I thought that's too sneaky. Number 5, is this a real Norwegian insult? Drari pa hestkuk.
My mother
Yes
was
Way.
a saint. How dare you? Yes Way.
Okay, yeah. A bonus if you can sort of guess what it means. I'll say it again. Drari pa I hestkuk. Hestkuk.
You're such a shit cook, you twat.
Close.
You're a cocksucker.
Go and ride on a horsecock.
Oh, you see, I got the cock in there.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Much
Andy.
like Christian when he's been full of drugs.
I got the cock in there. Well, that's what I need to do, mate. You know? I mean, you can't argue with that. Have you got any Swedish-based trivia, Luke? I'm joking.
I'm afraid not.
Sweet yes or sweet false.
Sweden or Sweden or Sweden. Okay, got to review the film. I'd be interested to know, Ben, which one you preferred, Hereditary or?
I preferred Hereditary. I would say, definitely. I need to give it another watch, I think, because I've only seen it once, so it'd be nice to watch it again. I think I've said all I need to say on this. I think I've said a lot, but I think I would go as far to give it an A-, which I think is my highest rating for a little while on the Horror Hangout podcast.
What about you, Andy? How do you rate it against Hereditary?
Against Hereditary, it's definitely my favourite of the 2 I've seen so far.
Nice.
I do like the name Paimon though, so maybe when I've watched it I might feel differently. But maybe I'll decellophane that DVD at some point. It's 10 o'clock, it'd be a rogue time to start a film. But
especially a film of that magnitude, so do it.
Yeah.
There's no time to watch an episode of Pokemon to give myself no nightmares. I'm going to go for, on this one, this falls into the category of films that I think are incredibly well made, are undoubtedly very skillfully done, very impactful, like excellent for the works. But I don't think I'll be able to watch it that often.
I don't think I'm
I'm
going
not
to watch
sure.
it again for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can sit down and do you fancy you got your friends around, do you fancy a horror movie? Let's sit and watch Midsommar. So it's a tough one to watch, which speaks to how well it is made. I'm going to go with a B+.
For the exact same reasons you said, I'm going with B+ as well. I think Hereditary, I could kind of imagine putting that on at sort of a party or something. It's got more of the I don't know. It's got more sort of oomph to it, I guess. It's got more of like a pace to it. Whereas this one, it's a bit of a slog, but not. I mean, that's sort of intentional, and it does sort of work. But it's very slow moving, You couldn't put this on if you were like even slightly tired, because you would be knocked out at some point.
This is an 8 o'clock start.
My rating is kind of more for the filmmaking prowess. I think that Ari Aster is sort of
it's insanely good, like unbelievably confident.
Even though I give it a high rating, I don't think I could watch it again anytime soon. Maybe like in a year, I would want to watch it again. But for the same reason, I've not watched Hereditary again. I think is one of those experiences that it's not. It's a meal you sit down to and enjoy and appreciate every little element of. Oh, that's delicious, that bit. Oh, lovely. Oh, it's so
rich.
beautiful.
It's very, very rich. This film.
It's rich, so you don't want it every weekend. You know?
No.
Well, you wouldn't have a Christmas dinner.
Well, mate. No. So I tell you what, though, I'm incredibly interested to see the third film in the Old and Naked trilogy. Like, it feels like I'm just excited to see whatever he does next.
Predictions now, guys. So we've had demons, we've had folk horror. No announcements of the new one yet, as far as I'm aware. What do you reckon theme-wise?
I was gonna say something that might even be quite spoilery for Hereditary, but if you've not seen it, it might be difficult to, because there's definitely thematic links between the two, like massive, quite massive.
Maybe like a remake of Hot Fuzz. Considering the way the third act goes with the cult. Maybe just like a really horrible horror version of Hot Fuzz. No laughs at all. Still starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Yeah.
Absolutely same cast, shot for shot remake, except dark.
Yeah.
No jokes.
It's just bolognese.
Bolognese, Andy.
Yeah. Okay, so this is nearly 2 hours long now, so we'll wrap it up pretty quick. The show is brought to you by Hawk and Cleaver. Head over to hawkandcleaver.com. Become a patron over at patreon.com/Hawk and Cleaver. Thanks to Kovacs Camera for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to the listeners. If you enjoyed the show, please consider giving us a rating and review on iTunes. Thanks to the people in the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. Come check us out. Thanks to my co-host Ben for being a right horror dude, but also thanks to Andy for being a right horror dude.
Horrible bastard.
I don't know what we're doing next week. Well, actually, we're off next week because I'm in the Norfolk Broads. So whatever we're doing after that, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll decide. Maybe we'll go back to the IGN list. Maybe watch something special.
Yeah,
we'll work out.
Yeah,
and we're going to get our people together to work out the 24-hour marathon, right?
Yeah.
True. We need to do that and
get our secretaries to phone each other.
And possibly another quiz episode. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm working on it. The guys are revising. I told you, right? You guys have got to get on it. Got a reputation to uphold.
We'll do it on a night.
I'm going to start revising for all the Norway questions. Right.
Yeah.
On that note.
See you later, guys.
Bye.